my friends, welcome back to the channel. I feel like it has been so long since I've been able to sit down with you and record, so I am super excited to do my monthly budget reset with you today. It is June 1st, so it is perfect timing to go over my budget from May, review everything, see what happened, see if I actually saved and invested what I planned to, see which budget categories I went over in, just kind of reconcile everything and close out my budget for the month of May. And then we are also going to talk about what is coming up in the month of June. Now, I feel like since it's been a couple weeks since I've recorded, today might be a very chatty, yappy video. Hopefully you're up for it. Grab a coffee, grab a tea. I will do my best to put timestamps below, so if you want to jump ahead to certain sections, you can. But I do want to chat a little bit about just what has been going on, and I'm excited to catch up with all of you. So I have my laptop here. We are going to go through everything for the month of May and reconcile all of the categories. I might need to do some final shuffling around. I definitely went over in a couple categories at least. I know that much. It's probably not nearly as bad as it was for the month of April, which if you missed that one, you can go back and watch. But April was just a bit of a mess when it came to the budget. This month, I was a lot more on track, but there were definitely still a couple areas where I know I overspent. And so I'm just gonna kind of shuffle some money around and make sure that I saved and invested enough and kind of met those goals. So let's talk about what happened. And first off, if you missed the last video too, where I was budgeting for the month of May, I just want to share a quick disclaimer that one, this is not my normal income. May was a 3-paycheck month, and I also had a few other different kinds of income coming in. So I do not normally take home $10,000 a month, but that was just an exception for the month of May. And I also just want to caveat as well that I live in Toronto, Canada, so everything you're seeing is in Canadian dollars. My RRSP was $640. I hit that goal. That was for my 3 paychecks throughout the month. So my bi-weekly deduction, that just comes right out of my paycheck. So that was great. In terms of saving and investing, because this was such a high income month, I was able to put $400 into my TFSA and $2,200 into my first home savings account, which is huge. I was so excited to be able to contribute a lot to that account this month. I am really trying to max it out as soon as possible. I have talked about that in other videos, and I really just want to get that down payment fund fully funded and maxed out. I will be able to max out this account by July at the latest. So I'm really working hard to, in the next couple months, max out that account, and you will see that when I am planning my spending for the month of June. I was also able to put $500 into my emergency fund, which feels amazing. I think my emergency fund has actually surpassed 15K now, which feels really good. It was just a nice milestone to hit that number. For some reason, that number is just helping me sleep better at night. So I was really excited to hit that milestone. I am going to continue funding my emergency fund for the reasons that I've talked about in previous videos, just in terms of like the economy, job instability. I work in tech, in user experience, and the field is just a little shaky right now. And so I feel better just having a little bit more saved in cash right now. And so I will continue to put towards my emergency fund when I can, but it's not, one of my most aggressive goals at the moment. Now, in terms of these next few line items, I have fully paid off my debt. I did that last summer, so nothing on that line item. I actually just should remove it from my budget spreadsheet. I feel like I've been meaning to do that for months and I always forget. Reinvesting dividends and interest, that just means that is money I have earned, but it just stays in my savings accounts and gets reinvested. But actually, I didn't know how much I was going to earn that month, so I'm actually going to change this to the exact amount, $84.65. YouTube income, I don't think I got a check this month, so nothing to reinvest there, and that is why it's $0. Now, if we go through kind of like my more fixed expenses, rent, insurance, utilities, internet, cell phone, these are all pretty standard. The only one that really changes month to month is utilities. I have noticed that my utilities are starting to creep up a little bit more now that we are getting into the warmer months, and then everything else is the same. What happened with car and gas this month? I had a lot budgeted for that category. I talked about that in my last monthly reset. I had budgeted money to fix my driver's side window. And wow, did I ever try to fix my driver's side window this month. It was such a saga. I was driving around without the inner panel of my door for like over a week. And even though my mechanic had run a diagnostic apparently to figure out what the problem was, and they charged me for that, it turns out they didn't know what the problem was, and it's not the motor. So after having my car in the shop multiple times, driving around with no door panel for over a week, I finally just had them put the door panel back on because I was going on a road trip and I needed my door back. We are no closer to having a solution. I still don't have a working window, which is a little bit annoying, but it does mean that I underspent a lot in the car and gas category. So really everything you're seeing here, the $319.24, that is for my car insurance, which I pay monthly. It's about $130. Filling up my tank a couple times, again, because I drove to Ottawa, which is quite far from Toronto. Like it's a decent 4 to 5 hour drive. So there and back, does take a fair bit of gas. And I also had a lot of parking expenses this month. I feel like I just ended up going downtown more and having to pay for parking downtown or like in other parts of the city, which is not super common for me. I rely on the subway a lot. But yeah, like one of the days it was like so that I could bring Lexi downtown with me to a friend's place. And so parking adds up pretty quickly, especially when you're parking like right in the heart of the city. And then for Ubers and taxis, I was pretty much right on. I budgeted 40 and I spent 43.18. That was really just for 2 Ubers. One was from getting back from a friend's place downtown, and it was just like late at night. And I think the subways have just been having more like cancellations and more like where they're relying on the shuttles. So I was like, I'm not doing that at like, you know, midnight. So one of those was just an Uber home. And then another one was to get to Rec Room for my work was having a big in-person work event at Rec Room. So the Ubers were like, you know, like roughly $20 each, nothing crazy. And the Uber to Rec Room, I split with a friend. So that was great. And Ubers are something I don't rely on a ton, but you know, as we get into the warmer months, I do feel like I tend to rely on it more in the summer just because I'm going out more, and there's more of a likelihood that the things that I'm going out and doing will include having like a couple beers, in which case I don't want to drive and I don't want to deal with parking in the city and things like that. So I feel like this is a category that I'm going to continue to budget, not a ton, but just allocate more than I do, say, in like January, where I'm like really not going out. And if I am going to go out, like I'll drive. So with these 2 categories, I don't actually think I did this in my last reset because April was such a mess. I think I was just like, let's start fresh. Let's just forget that that month ever happened, and May will be a new start. But what I do try to do is like actually reconcile the amounts. So because I was like so off in the car and gas category, I'm actually just gonna match that up right now with what I actually spent. And the reason for that is so that I have this like updated balance down here. And that way at the end of the month, if I actually have additional money left over, then I can reallocate it. So I would love to do that with you today. And if I do have some money left over, then I can actually add it to more savings, which is fun. And maybe I can have you help me in the comments decide what to do with any additional savings. I also didn't spend anything on public transit, which is a miracle. Somehow I had like $40 on my Presto card. So even though I've been taking the subway a lot this month, or a lot for me, because like also I had to go in person to the office. I went to a Jays game. Like I just was going out more. I just happened to already have a lot on my Presto card. So this ended up being $0 for public transit. Household was super low. I had budgeted $40 and I only spent $26.36. I needed nothing for the house. Like I didn't need any cleaning supplies, toilet paper, like nothing like that. The only thing I did spend money on was a couple plants. I was tempted. There's a place near me that sells gorgeous plants, and this is actually a part of my house that I have been feeling is lacking because I installed some new shelving and I really wanted to add like nothing crazy, but just like a little house plant. And so I got a couple, but that was the only spending in household for the month. So that is also under, and I'm just gonna update that, and that way we can see, again, that balance changing. Okay, now moving on to pets, I feel like I always estimate this one way wrong. I tend to under budget because I'm being overly optimistic and not at all reasonable when I budget in this category. So this month I figured I would just budget really, really high, and I actually stayed under. So I had budgeted $600 for Lexi, and I only spent $586.93. Yeah, only $586. That's still a ridiculous amount to spend on my dog, but I had to buy 6 months worth of flea and tick medicine, which was $220. So that was quite expensive. I had to buy a big bag of dry food for her. That often runs, I think, about $75. I had to buy treats. I had to get a bunch of rovers because I was going out a lot. So it adds up really quickly, and I'm actually completely okay with this spending because it was planned and all of it was essential. You know, this is not really me like spending on indulgences for her. This is really just to cover like basic care, food, flea, tick, heartworm, you know, the necessities. So even though it's a lot, I feel okay about it. I'm really just trying to embrace the fact that my dog is very expensive rather than beating myself up over it every month. And for some of these where the amounts are super close, like I'm not necessarily going to reconcile everything. Like, you know, like this was pretty close. It was 13 bucks off. So I might just leave some of these categories alone. But let's move down to health and wellness and talk about what happened here. I had only budgeted $20. I think that was to cover copays for a couple prescriptions. It ended up being quite a bit higher. So I spent $119.55 instead of $20. That was largely because I have been dealing with this iron deficiency, and I just started throwing money at the problem. The original iron supplements that I bought last month were making me insanely thirsty. Like I couldn't think about anything. I couldn't focus. I was just constantly chugging water, and so I was looking this up on Reddit, of course. This is where obviously where you should get your medical information, but a few other people said that they had said the same thing. So I was like, okay, let's try a couple different formulations. So I went to the pharmacy, I got another kind of iron supplement, then I got some iron gummies, which are like a much lower dose, and that way I can just supplement with those when I can't deal with the like more extreme thirst. And I also ordered one of those lucky fish, those iron fish that you can actually put in your boiling water when you're making things like soup. I think, you know, rice, like you can just put it in, you know, whenever you're cooking things, and it actually like infuses the water with iron. So that was on the more expensive side. That was about $60. And so most of this was just to try to find like an appropriate iron supplement for me. I'm really trying to remedy this because it has been causing me a lot of issues. Like I think it has been tied to my insomnia. I had been dealing with some hair loss. I just fatigue, like because I'm anemic. So it's been really hard to like have energy and exercise and just do anything. So health comes first. I'm really trying to address this, and I want to go do my repeat blood work in a couple months, just to make sure that I'm on the right track and that this is getting dealt with. And then the rest of this was about $30 to cover some prescriptions. That was for 2 months worth though of my Concerta, and then I'm also starting a new medication as well. But they were 60 days worth, so actually not that bad. But I will move some money into this category to cover that overspending. Groceries, I'm probably just gonna leave that alone because I was actually under. I had budgeted $500 and I spent $479.65. I am really proud of that. That might seem outrageous to you, spending almost $500 for one person on groceries, but it is what it is. I don't really fight it anymore. I really like buying like organic produce, nice quality things, and so I just tend to spend more in this category. And also it's a category that makes me feel, you know, like wealthy when I can spend freely in, when I don't have to nitpick like every dollar. So for me, it's just a category like where I value spending more, if that makes sense. So I'm happy that I even stayed under $500, to be honest. This is a category where I can overspend. Let's talk about restaurants. I was also under for restaurants. Again, I'm kind of shocked. I had budgeted $350 and I spent $333.84. This is more than I probably spend in a typical month on restaurants, but I knew that I had a lot of plans. I knew I would be going out of town. Like, I just knew that this was going to be higher than usual, and it was. So this is the beauty of sitting down and planning your budget every month, and like not using the same dollar amounts every month necessarily. I know that works for some people where they might say, I budget, you know, $150 for fun every month. But I have always really failed when I've tried to do that. Like, some months I spend almost nothing, and then other months I'll spend like, you know, 2 or 3 times what I spend normally. So for me, it makes sense to just sit down, think about my month ahead, and try to plan out the spending that way. So for the restaurants, that was like ordering Chinese food for a girls' night, ordering some subs and ice cream with my sister. There's this place that the sandwiches are great, but they also make like their own homemade ice cream, which is like, it was so good. I had never tried it before, but had heard really good things, and it absolutely delivered. And then I also ordered salads a couple times because I'm just trying to eat better. One of the days I was just having a super hard day. I got some really bad news and I really wanted to order like a bunch of decadent stuff. And then I was like, you know what, order a salad. And it actually still made me feel way better because I was like, I'm eating healthy, but it's still this nice little thing that I'm doing for myself where I don't have to like prepare food. I don't have to clean up, but you know, I'm still eating healthy and I didn't feel like trash after. So, you know, that was kind of nice. And then I also treated a friend of mine to breakfast while I was in Ottawa at a place called Sconewich. Again, I'll just leave it be. I was actually pretty bang on with that one. So it was like a little bit over or a little bit under, but I'm just going to leave it for simplicity's sake. Okay. Alcohol and bars. This is one where I did go over. I had budgeted $250 and I actually spent $298.08. That sounds really high, but again, it was just because there was a lot going on this month. So some of that was meeting up for happy hour with a friend in Ottawa the night I got there. Another one, like $80 of this was like buying rounds of drinks before a Jays game. So that added quite a bit to the total. And then also just buying wine to bring to like my girls' night here in the city, and then bringing wine to my friend's place in Ottawa who I was staying with. So I don't like showing up empty-handed. Like, I'll typically always just buy like a couple bottles of wine if I'm staying with someone or going over to someone's place. So that was a lot of that as well. So, you know, like it's not perfect. It's a lot to spend on booze. I recognize that. But yeah, there was a lot going on this month, and hopefully I can pare it back this month. I definitely still have some things going on, but I don't think they're going to be as like drinks oriented in the month of June. Coffee, by some miracle, I spent $0 on. I'm genuinely shocked by that. I don't know how that happened. I feel like I did go out for coffee a bunch, and now I'm just wondering, I think I was just treated every single time. So thank you to my dates and my friends and people who just were real ones this month and covered all my coffee. I appreciate you. Okay, moving on to toiletries and cosmetics. I was a little bit over, but again, not too far off. Like, I was kind of in the right ballpark. I budgeted $40. I spent $44.06. That was for, I think, like a couple toiletries. And then this was really the first time I've had to buy makeup all year. I had to buy some new base coat for my nails. That's because I'm trying to work my way through my nail polish, but I am running really low on base coat, and so I needed to get a new one. But I feel like that's a good use of the money. It was like $10, and it will allow me to continue to use up like some of the rest of my beauty stuff. So money well spent. And then the rest of this was also a new eyebrow pencil. Again, really like this is the first makeup I've bought all year. I'm doing this project pan trying to use things up. So I feel really happy about the fact that I made it all the way until May before I really had to do any spending on beauty this year. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit there just to make sure it zeroes out. And then personal care, what happened here? I had planned to get a haircut. I had booked my haircut. I was so excited for my haircut. And then they canceled my appointment on me like 2 days before because the stylist quit. So the stylist quit on very short notice and they didn't have anyone else to take on the appointment. So they kind of just canceled on me and I wasn't able to reschedule for a different time because I had a really busy month. So I just ended up not getting my haircut again, which I'm kind of desperate for at this point. It's been about 6 months. I really just need to deal with like the ends mostly. So I will probably try to budget for that again in June and we'll try to have a do-over. But for now, I'm just gonna net this down to 0 because I obviously didn't spend anything there. Clothing was also $0. That was great. That was as planned. I didn't plan to spend anything on clothing this month, so that is great. Entertainment was way lower than planned. That was because I was supposed to go to a concert and then that also got canceled. So he changed all of his tour dates, I think to like September of this year. So the $75 ticket that I was going to go with a friend and like transfer her the money, we ended up just like not doing that. And so the only entertainment spending I had this month was on a Jay's ticket. That was it. So I'm actually going to reduce that down to account for the fact that I saved quite a bit in that entertainment category. Shopping was 0 as planned. Travel, I didn't spend anything. I'm debating if I want to put some in my travel fund or just take the $100 and use it for something else, like use it for more saving and investing this month. And I think that's kind of what I want to do. So I'm going to reduce that down. I already have a lot in my travel fund. So that's why, like, it doesn't feel like a huge priority to me right now. $300 was budgeted for gifts and I spent $275. That was for Mother's Day. And then also to get my brother tickets to Dave Chappelle for his 40th birthday. So those were pricey, but well worth it to cover those gifts. Charity was $75 as planned. I have a monthly donation to a climate organization. And then I think I also spent like 40 or 50 bucks on tickets for like a 50-50 raffle for the Toronto Humane Society. So that was great. Subscriptions were way over than planned. And that is because I was hit with a charge from GoDaddy this month, which I didn't realize was coming up. It hits every 2 years, so it's on this like really infrequent cadence, and it's to cover the domain names that I have associated with like my full name. Like I keep those URLs, and for a while I was using one as like my UX design portfolio. Now I'm not actively using them for anything, but they're pretty cheap to keep, and like it's nice to have domain names like with your full name. So yeah, I just keep those going. It was like 60 bucks for 2 years for 2 domains. So not bad, but let's bump that up to cover that spending. And then miscellaneous was high this month. I think just because of like the travel out of town, it was like lots of like little things from the gas station, a big dispensary trip, and you know, just other like little odds and ends here and there. So let's change that to reconcile it. So that means at this point that I have roughly, you know what, actually, let's just, because I spent $0 in coffee, like let's take that money back too. So I don't really care about doing a perfect zero-based budget. Like that's why I don't adjust everything, like every single little dollar. Like I just don't care about being that granular. Like I'm pretty granular, but I'm also not counting every single penny necessarily, and budgeting down to every last penny. So when all is said and done, I actually have almost $800 left this month still to allocate. I actually don't know where I want to allocate this. So maybe chime in the comments, tell me what to do with this money. I am tempted to put it towards my FHSA just because, again, I'm getting so close to maxing that account out, and it would be really nice to do it in the next month. So maybe I should just go ahead and take like an extra $750 and put it towards my first home savings account. But I'm also kind of tempted to put more in my emergency fund. I don't really care about my TFSA right now. It's not a huge priority. I don't know, I'm a little bit torn. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts on that. And then I will go ahead and allocate it in the next day or two after I post this. So now I only have a balance of $43 left for the month. But here is the general breakdown of my spending for the month of May. You can see the proportion that went to needs, wants, and savings. So just shy of $4,000 went to needs. Only about $1,500 went towards wants, which I think is actually pretty great in a month where I still did a lot of fun things. I went out, I took a trip to Ottawa. So really nice that I was still able to do a lot of enjoyable things, but my wants were still really only 15% of my monthly income. And then I saved a huge amount. I was able to save about 45% of my income this month, which is amazing. Again, that is not typical, so I really just try to take advantage of things like 3 paycheck months to save, and just put aside as much of it as I can to really hit my savings goals for the year. Feeling really, really good about the month of May. Even though I was over in a couple categories, this feels much better. This feels like I am getting back on track with my budget, and I am excited to plan out what the month of June is gonna look like. I feel like I've been yapping for 100 years now, but now that we've wrapped up the month of May, let's dive into what is going on for the month of June and what I have coming up. So some of this I already have allocated, like my RSP contributions, because those are the same. They come out bi-weekly. Like I always just have that pre-allocated. So that will be $457.56 this month because we are back to 2 paychecks. And then now I need to think about how I want to allocate TFSA, FHSA, emergency fund. So I'm just kind of thinking about where I want to save and invest my money this month. Now, again, my income for the month is higher than usual, but I don't actually know exactly how much it's going to be. I'm doing a bunch of freelance work this month, and I have a ballpark of how much I think it's going to be, but it might end up being less work than I anticipate. So I tried to underestimate and round down a little bit, but like this number is realistically probably still going to change. So I'm working with $8,400 right now. That's roughly what I will budget. But when I reconcile the numbers at the end of the month, I am probably going to have to do some shuffling around again. So given that it's going to be a higher income month again, I should have quite a bit of room to save and invest again. And because my FHSA is such a priority right now, I really just want to put most of it towards that. In fact, I might want to do like all of it towards that this month. So I'm going to start with, if I have a balance of almost $5,000 left to budget, let's maybe start with putting, let's see, like maybe $1,800 towards my FHSA. If I do $1,800 in June and $1,800 in July, that will max out the account. Now, of course, if I use some of my May funds towards it, then that would allow me to max it out a little bit earlier or more easily come July. So that would be great as well. But for now, let's just allocate $1,800 towards the FHSA. And maybe what I'll do is I will leave these other categories alone for now. And if I have some leftover money, once I've accounted for all of my expenses, then I can come up and add some more. But I feel like this is a really good starting point and will let me continue to progress towards my goal of maxing out my FHSA in the month of July. So I'm gonna leave emergency fund alone for now, reinvest dividends and interest. That's usually kind of around $100. I think June might actually be a higher dividend month because I think a lot of the quarterly payments go out in June. So this might be a bit higher, but I'm just gonna leave it as is for now. I don't actually know if I will have YouTube income. I will adjust that later when I check and see if I'm actually getting a check or not this month. Like I said, when I was going through the May numbers, these are all more or less the same. Rent is $2,100. Insurance is $46.44. That is for my life insurance policy. Utilities are a little higher as expected this month. I just got the bill and it was $105.48. So just reflecting the fact that I am having to switch on the AC from time to time now. Internet is $67.80 and cell phone is $84.75. So those are all staying more or less the same. Now, car and gas. This is tricky because I still ideally would like to get my window fixed, but I feel like I should go to a different shop at this point. Like I just haven't been able to get the answers that I need at the mechanic near me. So I kind of want to go and get a second opinion And at this point, because it's not the motor, the original quote that I got is probably completely wrong. I have no idea how much this is going to cost. So I'm just going to add a bunch of money to this category and I hope for the best. So maybe 320 is usually enough to cover my car insurance, a couple tanks of gas, and like some parking. So let's just make that $650 and hopefully that covers any repairs. But again, it's really hard to say at this point just because I don't know if parts are going to be needed and how much those are going to cost. But I feel like this is a reasonable ballpark and it is still allowing me to put aside at least a few $100s towards this potential car repair. Moving on to Uber and taxi. I think I'm going to budget about $50 for this month. Again, that covers like a couple Uber trips in and out of the city if needed, but nothing crazy. $20 is often what I already have pre-allocated for public transit. I think that's about right. My Presto card is basically empty, so I think adding another $20 on for this month should do the trick. I will have some things going on, but definitely not as much as I did this month. Like, for example, I'm not going to have to go in person to work, and I just don't have as many social things that I can think of off the top of my head. Okay, going down to household, I am going to budget a lot this month. I feel like I have had that month where I run out of everything simultaneously. So I need laundry detergent, dishwasher pods, a fresh for my dishwasher and my washing machine. I feel like I'm running out of cleaning supplies. So I'm just going to budget very generously in this category. Let's say $200, and that will allow me to stock up, buy things in bulk if needed, and just like not really worry about it. So $200 should do the trick there. Now going down to pets, that $79.98 that's already there, that's just to cover her pet insurance. But this is going to be another very expensive month. And again, I think rather than fight it, I'm just going to try to allocate the money and not think about it too much. So I want to order her 3 or 4 months of her meds. I'm kind of just sick of having to reorder them like every month or two. It does make the expense more manageable, but then also I'm like paying extra for shipping and like the pharmacy dispensing fee. So I kind of just want to order like 3 or 4 months worth. And then that way I have a few months supply. I have her flea, tick, and heartworm also for the next few months. And then that way, hopefully, July and onward, I'll get a little bit of a break and the pet expenses will be lower. So I think I'm just gonna account for that and budget a few $100s to really stock up on her meds, plus her pet insurance. Plus, I just bought dry food, but I will need to get wet food. That's usually about $50, I think, to get 12 cans. I will probably need to get another few Rovers again. I already have one booked for Friday, for instance. So, I don't even know what that math is at this point. I'm just gonna budget $700, and that way, if I just wanna order like a whole bunch of her meds, that's gonna already alone be like $300 or $400. So $700 will hopefully cover it. And by the time July rolls around, hopefully I can really bring this category down, because it is just depressing to have to spend that much every month on my dog. As much as I love her, she is worth every penny, but wow, dogs are so expensive, and they are so much more expensive than you think they will be. Okay, health and wellness. Again, this is a category where I feel like I was short last month, so I kind of want to bump this one up a little bit and just account for the fact that I do have a few health care expenses right now. So for instance, like I even just went literally to go get fitted for new orthotics. I didn't include it in my May budget just because I'm still waiting for it all to get reconciled through insurance. So I figured I'll just like cover my portion of it with my June budget. But like that could end up being some out of pocket. So I'm gonna budget $200. That should cover the orthotics and then like my copay, my portion of it. And then also if I do need any prescriptions, things like that, I think I am set for the next couple months. Like I did just refill 2 months worth. And I got some meds from my doctor's appointment the other day. So she actually gave me 3 months worth of like a trial pack. So I think I'm good to go. But I feel like with me, things with health and wellness just end up cropping up like all the time. So I would rather just like earmark the money and not have to worry about it. Okay, now thinking about groceries, I think the $500 number is usually pretty good, but I actually might even just want to bump it up like a tad this month. Maybe like $515 should do the trick. Because again, sometimes I feel like my grocery budget stands in the way of me actually cooking more and buying the things that I want to make recipes I'm excited about. So sometimes I find just like bumping that number up makes me more excited to like eat healthy and buy healthy things and like bake and cook more at home. So I'm just gonna like bump it up a tad. Okay, then in terms of restaurants, it's probably going to be a little less than it was in May. I definitely will still be going out and doing some things, but I don't think it will be as crazy as it was in the month of May. So $300 should cover it. Maybe I'll just do 300 for like bars as well. Just do 300 in each. That should be fine and give me plenty of wiggle room. For coffee, let's plan for 20 bucks. That allows me to get a couple cups of coffee or to like treat a friend or a date or somebody to a coffee at least once. So that should be fine. That should be sufficient. Again, working from home, this is like not a category I really spend in all that much. Toiletries and cosmetics. This is again, actually something where you will see my next project pan update that I am actually running out of things, which is great, which is the goal of the project pan. But I feel like I might have some more spending in this category this month, just things that I have finally completely depleted and need to replenish. So I'm just gonna earmark like 60. I don't think it will be anything crazy. Again, I still have a lot of stuff that I can use up, but I also just might need some toiletries as well. And I can't really think of what I need off the top of my head, but I feel like I'm running out of something. So yeah, let's just plan for that. Personal care, I mean, let's be optimistic and say that I'm actually going to get a haircut in the month of June. So let's plan for $150 in that category again. Now, clothing. This is an interesting category because I typically try to do pretty low spend in clothing, but I am actually finding that this is an area where I feel like I've almost been like punishing myself by being too restricted. And like, I really don't think I've spent almost anything on clothing this year so far. Yeah, I just checked and I've only spent $127 on clothing for the entire year. And we are now in June. So I feel like this is an area that I have been so responsible in, so frugal in, but sometimes I almost take it too far. And sometimes I like, if my body is changing, I'm like losing a bit of weight or gaining a bit of weight, like I don't want to buy new clothes that fit. And that's not a great mindset, like I should have clothes that like fit me and flatter me at different sizes. And I should be able to go buy the things that I need. Or if I need things like new socks, new pajamas, that I'm like buying those things without feeling guilt. So I actually think what I'm going to do this month is buy some things that are long overdue. I want to do a big closet declutter soon. There is a lot of stuff that I know I just need to get rid of. It's like falling apart, full of holes, and it's time to just get rid of a lot of stuff and actually replace it and not feel guilty about replacing it. So I think for the month of June, I'm actually going to plan. This is kind of nuts. This is a lot. See, I might have to shift how much I'm saving in order to do this. Which, like that's part of this though. I might actually have to reduce how much I'm putting in my FHSA, but I think it's worth it because I think I have just been having so much scarcity around this. And there are pieces of clothing that I absolutely need and it's like getting dire. And so I'm going to budget $500 in this category. That will allow me to get things like new socks. I need new shirts to sleep in. I literally just want to get a 4-pack of like those Hanes, like men's shirts and sleep in those. Like those are the most comfortable and they're cheap. I want to get some period underwear. I had tried a couple pairs and I don't love them. I did kind of want to stick with a Canadian brand, but I haven't been loving the Knix ones. If you have a recommendation, I would love to hear it. I mean, ideally Canadian, but doesn't have to be. I think this is a purchase where I just need to buy like the best thing on the market. So I want to buy those as well. But again, those are very expensive. I also want to be able to get a pair or two of shorts for the summer. I also need to buy new shoes. This is something at the start of the year I was like, It was on my no buy list for the year. I was like, I'm not gonna need shoes. And then sure enough, I checked and my Birkenstocks are from like 2018. I had no idea they were 7 years old. And like that kind of footwear is so important in keeping me healthy, like as are the custom orthotics that I got made. So again, I need to buy like at least a new pair of sandals this month for the summer so that I have like a good up-to-date pair of sandals that actually has support. But that kind of footwear is expensive. Like buying running shoes are expensive. They're like $150. Buying a pair of Birkenstocks is like at least $100+. So I think $500 is a good start to allow me the freedom to buy a few things that I need this month. But I think I might just have more spending in clothing over the next couple months. And this is an area that, again, I sometimes think I like have too much of a scarcity mindset, and I need to also like remind myself sometimes that it is okay to spend. It is okay to buy things that you actually need. Like when your clothing is full of holes and falling apart, like it is okay to buy new stuff. So I think that's just like a reminder I need right now. And I really don't want to feel like panicked and stressed about spending this money on clothing and footwear that I actually need at this point. And then for entertainment, I don't think I have anything huge planned this month, but maybe let's like allocate $60. Just maybe that'll cover like a movie ticket or like just going out to actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna allocate a little bit more, let's say $100, because it is Pride this month. And so I feel like I will be going to at least a couple events for that. Shopping, I'm not actually planning on buying anything like electronics, nothing for the house really, I don't think. So that can stay $0. Travel can also stay $0. I will be getting charged for the cottage that I'm doing with my family this month, but I think I'm gonna pull all of that from my travel sinking fund because I have so much in there. So that means that for the month of June, I actually don't need to spend anything out of pocket for travel, which is great. And then gifts, technically it's my brother's birthday this month, but we already covered his gift. I don't think I really have anything else coming up this month. Yeah, like I don't think I have any friends' birthdays in June. So I think this one I can actually just leave it. So that will be $0. Charity, I'm going to bump this up a little bit. I'd love to put a little bit more towards charity this month. That was one of my goals at the start of the year, was to give more. So I want to make sure I'm upping that. 75 feels reasonable. Subscriptions should be $30.49 this month. That is just really my YouTube Premium and my iCloud storage. And then miscellaneous, I already have in there as $40. Again, that's just like to cover odds and ends, like grabbing things at the corner store, etc. And last month it was super, super high, but it's not usually high. It's usually like 40 or $50. So I think that will be sufficient. But that means now I am in the negatives by $257. So I need to go back up and readjust how much I'm actually saving in my FHSA. So that means I guess if I do $1,500, yeah, that works. That will leave me with a little bit of buffer as well, like an extra $42 there. And yeah, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. If I end up earning more from my freelancing and I can save a little bit more, great. If I end up not spending as much, you know, in like the car repair or other categories, then great. Maybe I will be able to save more. But I'm also really trying to budget more realistically. I feel like that's a problem I have where I'm very over optimistic and I'm like, oh, I'm only gonna spend $50 on fun this month. And then it's like, I just blow right past it. And then that's not a good feeling. So I would much rather just try to be honest with myself at the start of the month and like think about what I'm actually going to spend and just be reasonable about it. So, I'm still quite happy with this. I think putting $1,500 towards my FHSA is still a great achievement. It's a great accomplishment. And I'm really making so much progress on that account. I am so excited to max it out, and I will be definitely updating you all and letting you know when I hit that goal. So I'm so excited to share that update soon, hopefully. If you're still here, if you're still watching until the very end, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And let me know in the comments what you have coming up in the month of June. Any big purchases coming up or fun things that you are really excited to do in the month of June. Let me know down below, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.